In recent years, the competition for influence between China and the United States has led to many quite unexpected events. In terms of trade, China and the US have issued back and forth sanctions like gunfight. Regarding diplomatic relations, if the US hates a certain country, China will strengthen cooperation with that country, of which Iran is a typical example. Today, we will know why China is happy with the US embargo on Iran. To get more, we will first briefly recap the hostility of the United States towards Iran. In 1953, the United States and the United Kingdom supported King Mohammad Reza Pahlavi of Iran in a coup to overthrow the government of Prime Minister Mossadegh Mohammad. Because Mossadegh nationalized the oil industry and destroyed the interest of British companies, the US helped UK because they were close allies in the Korean War. After the coup was successful, the United States considered Iran as an ally, increased military aid, and made it to be an effective arm to support security in the Middle East, where many oil companies of the United States is being active. In 1967, the United States provided Iran with a nuclear reactor with a capacity of 5 megawatts and uranium fuel to make a nuclear weapon. However, the purpose of the transfer at that time was only to help Iran generate nuclear power. In 1979, the Muslim leader Ruhollah Khomeini launched a revolution to overthrow King Mohammad, who the pro-American government collapsed and was replaced by a new government that considered the United States an enemy. Ruhollah Khomeini continued to nationalize the oil industry and at the same time confiscated things belonging to foreign companies. It included up to $5 billion of US insurance companies. Soon after, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi fled to US with the reason to cure his illness. The Iranian, fearing another coup d'etat, took American officials hostage at the embassy in Tehran. President Jimmy Carter immediately issued sanctions on Iran, including the stop of their $12 billion in the bank deposits and other assets in the United States. It was this incident that led to the death of 8 hostages, and Mr. Carter could not be re-elected for a later term. Between 1980 and 1988, the United States provided billions of dollars in aid and intelligence to help Iraq in its war with Iran, because they feared that Iran would take over the oil fields in the Saudi Arabia and Kuwait, where American companies are active. In 1996, Bill Clinton increased new sanctions, including banning the exchange of goods and services between the US and Iran and prohibiting investors from participating in Iran's oil and gas industry. The ban has been in place for 5 years and will continue to be extended if Iran has not changed its stance. Overall, there are many other reasons why the relationship between the US and China have become hostile. The most concerning issue right now is the United States accusing Iran of enriching uranium to create nuclear weapons. In fact, it was the United States that supplied Iran with the 5 megawatt reactor in 1967 to help them generate nuclear power. Whether Iran built nuclear weapons or not, no one knows, but it's very likely because Iran has been isolated and under threat for decades. Because of uranium enrichment, Iran has faced a lot of sanctions from the US and some EU countries. Most notably, policies targeting Iran's oil industry, such as banning trading or investment in this industry in order to shrink the Iranian economy. So, Iran had a lot of years of negative economic growth. The reason they could survive was because they had been through decades of sanction. Iran had converted all transactions to other countries, especially China, which is an emerging economic superpower. The commercial relationship between the Iran and China began in 1979, when Iran and the United States became enemies. However, their cooperation was limited because of Iran's orientation at that time was Western markets. By 1996, the United States banned all businesses from investing in Iran's oil and gas industry, causing them to gradually move east. At that time, the energy demand of China's industries increased rapidly, so Iran cooperates with China. In 1997, China signed the first oil exploration agreement in Iran. This agreement established multi-billion-dollar development projects in the South Pars and Azerbaijan gas fields. Then, in 2000, Iran continued to sign an $85 million contract with China National Petroleum Corporation to drill 19 new oil wells in southern Iran. In 2004, they reached a $120 billion deal to buy liquefied natural gas over 25 years. At that time, it was the largest oil trade in the world. In 2007, China signed a $2 billion deal to develop 137 wells at the Azerbaijan oil field in western Iran. Between 2009 and 2011, the United States, the EU, and the United Nations increased sanctions over Iran's nuclear development program. Accordingly, most Western companies withdraw their investment from Iran. It opened up a great opportunity for China. Within these 3 years, they continued to sign contracts worth $6.46 billion for the development of new major oil fields. Since then, China has become a major customer of Iran, with most of its imports coming from oil and gas of Iran. Although China must reduce imports from Iran for a few years because of pressure from the United States, in general, China and Iran continue to strengthen cooperation with other contracts. In 2018, the United States imposed sanctions on any country if they buy Iranian oil, with the aim of bringing Iran's oil and gas exports to zero. With this pressure, China and some other countries forced to reduce imports of oil. However, according to information from Refinitiv, a company that provides global financial data, China has used new tricks to avoid law because they can't give up a lot of money they've invested in infrastructure that they have built over the years. For example, oil from Iran will be shipped to Malaysia, Oman, and the United Arab Emirates, and then imported into China. For Iran, China has made a great contribution to helping them stabilize their annual income, otherwise millions of people would starve to death. And for China, they will get abundant oil and gas at a cheaper price than other supplying countries. All US sanctions are considered meaningless.